Welcome back to the Wargaming Den. Another report from Southcon 2022, which was held over Queen's birthday weekend here in New Zealand, in Dunedin, in the bottom of the South Island. This game, I take on Mark's Orcs. Mark was leading the competition with 3 wins. There were 3 of us tied for second place on 2 wins apiece, and I wasn't really looking forward to tackling with those orcs. We'll have a look at the army list in a minute, but lots of Defense 5 units in there, and it was going to be a bit of a uphill struggle for the Elves. But let's have a look at the army list. For those of you who have seen the previous battle reports, here's my army list for the weekend. 2 Palace Guard regiments, a Sea Guard Horde, a regiment of Quicksilver Lancers, which are the upgraded Stormwind Cavalry, Silver Breeze Regiment, Drakon Riders Horde, an Elven King on a horse with a sharp blade, 2 Drakon Lords, one of them's got a boomstick, and 2 Wizards with Lightning Bolt, and one's got the Inspiring Talisman to keep the infantry motivated. An interesting list, hopefully, that I've got there. It's done okay so far, and I'm kind of getting the hang of the mobility. That really needs to be the focus of this particular army. Let's have a look at Mark's orc list. Mark's just recently completed his orc army and it looks very impressive. I'll show you a couple of photos in a minute. While I'm speaking of photos, no videos in any of these. The tournament was held at a pretty cramped venue, lots of talking and stuff, so I didn't really have time to take any video and didn't want lots of background noise, so sorry, but you're just going to have to put up with photos and a bit of a description, as has been the case in the previous battle reports. But anyway, on to Mark's list. He's got 2 Horde of Axe Orcs, 2 Gore Rider regiments, 2 Skulk Outlet Rider troops that kind of act as chaff, a couple of Orkling regiments, 2 War Drums, which add to the rallying of his orcs, raising their nerve. So they are 2 units that I wanted to try and target. Crudger with a bloody banner, a Crusher, and the Crudger on the winged slasher, picture of which is on the screen there. Very nice model that Mark has done, but you know, the whole army looks impressive. Okay, let's move on, have a look at some of his units. And just a look down the orc line as we are ready to get underway. As you can see, Mark is sneaky and puts his war drums in behind his gores so that they're going to be hard to target. And a very impressive sight indeed. Mark's axe regiments, 80 odd orcs, each with an individually painted shield. When they're ranked up, the 2 hordes side by side, it is very impressive indeed. He's done a great job with this army. And just another look down the line at all those ranked orcs. 2 big hordes in the foreground there. They were going to take a lot to chew through for my elves. Okay, so let's have a look at deployment. So the game was smoke and mirrors. So there are, I think it's 7 tokens scattered around the table. We put 4 on, must be 4 on each side, each other side, or something like that, or 5 on each side. I haven't counted them all. Anyway, each of us put down a token that was worth 2 points, and a couple worth 1 point, and 2 that were worth nothing. So there must be 10 tokens. See, maths, what a concept. Mine were put down here. I put 1 out wide here, a 1. I put a 2 here. I put a 1 there. As it turned out, this ends up being a 2. I'm not quite sure where the other ones are. They'll no doubt appear during the game. My plan was to try and capture these 2. I had my Quicksilver Lancers and a Drakon Lord to take those. My Sea Guard here, I wanted to kind of move into a flanking position using some archery to try and neutralize some of the threats. I've got my 2 Palace Guard tucked in behind the hill here with the Wizards. The plan is to put the Wizards on the hill, try and fire over the back and take out the War Drums as my first targets if I could. And then the Drakon Riders, the Silver Breeze, and the other Drakon Lord, I was hoping to kind of hold this area. I wanted to try and get, as I said, these tokens and hope that there was going to be another one round here. Mark's plan looks like he's going to go straight through this way. He's got his 2-point objective there. I didn't know that at the time. And then he's got all his gores and slashes, so potentially wanting to come hooking around this way as well. So kind of an asymmetrical deployment in some ways. So it'll be interesting to see how this one turns out. Mark got the first turn and immediately advanced with his orcs straight forward, heading for the forest there, tucked in a bit behind the wood. A war drum there skulks. The other skulks is skulking behind the building there, and his gore riders and slasher. So not much in the way of shooting. There might have been some spells or something, but I don't recall anything major happening. And again, just a close-up of those big units of orcs that were coming straight at the elf lines, and the gore riders there. So a lot of his force coming straight down the one flank. This little guy, I think, is his hero, and I was trying to ignore him, which, as you'll see later on, may not have been such a clever idea. And let's have a look at my response. So zoomed up the far flank with the Quicksilver Lancers and the Dragon Lord. So at present, even though Mark doesn't know it, I've got 2 objectives under my control there. The Sea Guard advance, bit of fire support, just chipping away. The 2 wizards on the hill, both fired at the war drum. I did about 4 wounds with my lightning bolts, but got 1 short of destroying the war drum, which was a bit annoying really. And otherwise I was just holding here, sent my king out to challenge that orc, and really just wanted to see how things eventuated out on this flank. I wasn't wanting to go forward at all. I may even moved some units back slightly. On to turn 2, and Mark's already putting the pressure on. The orc general on the slasher came charging forward to take on my king, which was probably not going to end well for the king. Okay, and on to the orc turn 2. Lots of pressure already coming on me. Those 2 big intimidating hordes coming straight down at me still. The war drums tucked in behind there now. Can't quite see it here, but the orc hero, 80-point orc hero, came charging in at the Dracons and did a wound or 2, grounding them. I wanted the Dracons to be able to maybe charge these orcs, or do something equally useful. I've really underestimated that orc hero. I was more worried about the general on the wing slasher here, who engaged my king, but right beside him here is Gakamek, the other nasty hero. So a lot of pressure coming on this flank. He's got the gore riders here and here with another war drum in behind. So he's really pouring the pressure on at this point. So a lot of pressure coming on. The king was wavered, so I couldn't do much, which meant I wasn't able to attack the slasher and stop him from flying. The Draken Riders have killed the hero in front of them, but they're now staring at Grekamak, the slasher, and even these orcs there potentially could ruin their day. Palace Guard is still tucked in behind here, not wanting to get too close to those orcs. The Sea Guard, I think, managed to put a couple of wounds maybe on the skulks. They're only defense 3, so they were the best target there, hoping to chip away at them. And I think my wizards continued trying to shoot the war drum. Might have done 1 more wound, but didn't do enough to break them. But yeah, or I may have missed, can't quite remember there. But what I did do, the Silver Breezer up here, I was looking at chucking them into the pond area to slow down these gore riders, make them hit on a 5. But in the end, I decided to do the old nimble charge. So I had a line of sight through to the gores here. So I ended up doing a big charge through the hindering terrain, and hit the Gore Riders here, accompanied by the Draken Lord. The idea being, if I could bounce these guys in that first round of combat, suddenly I was in behind the orc lines and maybe might force some of these units to turn to face and take a wee bit of the pressure off. As it turned out, though, didn't quite kill the Gore Riders there, and ended up getting pinned in this area instead. But I thought it was worth a gamble, and if it had paid off, then yeah, potentially it would have changed things a wee bit. And here's just a close-up of that combat. So the Silver Breeze and the Drakon smashed into them. You can see from that dice they've taken 6 wounds. Can't see what the other dice says there. Might be another 3 or 4 wounds. So I had a reasonable chance of breaking them, but just didn't quite roll well enough. And if I had have punched through there, maybe the game might have taken a different track. And an action shot from the end of the turn. Mark is just turning over this token to discover that it's my 2.1. And the other 2.1 I think has already been exposed in the forest area. The Quicksilver Lancers are just hanging around here to hold those objectives. Just out of sight here, the Drakon Lord is trying to get the skulks who are behind the building there, and they keep using their nimble to turn around and are being quite annoying at present. And just down here you can see that my king is wavered. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but by the looks of it he's not going to be doing much either, which is far from ideal as well. And here we go, the result of not getting those Gore Riders. War Drum is coming over here, War Drum in the flank of the Silver Breeze, but even more unsettling is Gakamak attacking them from behind, so tripled his attacks while the Gore Riders engaging the Drakon Lord from the front there. So things are not looking too good for those particular units either. And just when you thought it couldn't get much worse. So I'm in trouble here, surrounded by Gakamak, the orcs and the war drums. More orcs coming down here, the Gore Riders. Horde of axe orcs charged into the Drakon Riders and did a few wounds, not as many as I thought they were going to do, but then Mark rolled a 12 for his nerve test and killed the Drakon Riders, which I wasn't expecting. He might have needed a 10 or an 11 to do it, so that didn't help my cause. And over here, the Palace Guard are in a world of hurt. The slasher came flying over the Drakon Riders, smashed into the flank. Not much that they're going to be able to do to withstand the assault from the flank there of the winged slasher. So the wheels are well and truly falling off at this point. Things are looking pretty grim from the elf perspective. And of course the king, who'd been badly mauled by the slasher, was wavered and smashed in the front by the Gore Riders. So he was about to be trampled under their gores. And from the end of the turn. So the king is gone, the Palace Guard have gone, and we've got a very angry looking slasher here. The Silver Breeze, much to my surprise, held, but I think that they were either wavered or they weren't able to turn and do anything really that useful because they were pinned from 3 sides, so they're a bit stuck as well. And the Drakon Lord also was a bit mired at that particular point as well. I was determined to go down fighting, though no one told that to my 2 wizards, both of whom were wavered. So I charged the Palace Guard and the Sea Guard into the horde of axe here. Did a few wounds, quite a few wounds, can't remember how many, but not enough to break them or anything, but also swung the Quicksilver Lancers round. They abandoned the 2-point objective to try and lend a hand next turn. But of course here we've got a slasher who's got side or rear targets at will. So yeah, things are still looking grim, but I wanted to try and get a few points back if I could. And just a close-up of that particular combat. So the Palace Guard and the Sea Guard versus the Orc Horde. Meanwhile, on the left flank, how are things going? I've managed to kill the Gore Riders. They held long enough though for reinforcements to come in. So we've got the little Orclings. We've still got the war drum there, another war drum there. And just to add a bit more misery to the Elves' day, the other regiment of Gore Riders charged the Silver Breeze. So the game is well and truly under control for the Orcs now. So the Silver Breeze and the Drakon are pretty much trapped over here. The other Orc Horde are just going to roll up my 2 wizards. The Slasher is charging into the flank of the Palace Guard here. Just to add to my misery, the Sea Guard didn't have any wounds on them. They got hit in the front by the Axe Horde, hitting on 4s. I've never seen so many 5s and 6s, I don't think, in my life. I think he got something like 15 hits and rolled really well and got about a total of 23 or 24 and smashed the Sea Guard in the first round. I was a bit taken aback by that. I expected them to hold for a round and then for the Quicksilver Lancers to be able to roll them up, but it wasn't to be. Those Orcs hit very, very hard. Yep, and as you can see, the Palace Guard and the Sea Guard have both gone. The Orcs have turned to face the Quicksilver Lancers. They're on 11 wounds though, so I did damage them a bit before I went down. So the Quicksilver Lancers charged into them and finished them off, but too little, too late. Tucked around behind here, you can just about see the base of the skulks, and they were finished off this round by the Dragon Lord, who had finally managed to pin them into the corner. And so here we have the situation at the end of my turn. The Quicksilver Lancers have killed those Orcs. I've wavered maybe the skulks back there. I'm close. That's a 1-point objective. There's another 1-point objective there that hasn't been turned yet. We've got Orcs here, 2-point objective here. The Slasher is directly in front of the Quicksilver Lancers and is going to charge them. The Orclings have been busy chewing their way through my wizards as well, wavering them and preventing them casting spells. So game has, I think, well and truly slipped beyond reach at this stage. So bottom of turn 6, I'd lost the Quicksilver Lancers. The Slasher just continued chewing through Elves, but the Drakon had finished off the skulks and so flew over here, grabbed a 2-point objective. So it was going to be something like a 6-2, which was still, not ideal, but at least I had a couple of points. Unfortunately though, I rolled for a turn 7. So sure enough, skulks came charging in here, did 3 wounds or a couple of wounds to my Drakon Lord, but we're both unit strength 1, so I was denied my 2 points here, and the field well and truly belonged to the Orcs because this was my last remaining unit of the table. There we have it, a comprehensive victory to the Orcs. So 4 wins in a row to the Orcs, very well deserved win by Mark. And there we have it, a comprehensive win in the end to the Orcs. Mark totally deserved to win that one. He put pressure on me from the word go. These are 2 big intimidating blocks of Orcs coming straight across the table at you. The Gore Riders were used well. The Slasher, he did a great job. And I made far too many mistakes. I tried to do a couple of sneaky things to keep myself in it. If I'd managed to get those gore riders, then maybe I might have been able to relieve some of the pressure, but as it turned out, that didn't work. Mark just taking out the Drakon riders by rolling a double six for the nerve test to bounce them in one turn didn't help my cause, and the Sea Guard getting smashed by the other Orc horde from here, wasn't expecting that. I kept the Quicksilver Lancers around here because I knew I had 3 points worth of objectives, but maybe what I should have done is carried on trying to put pressure on by swinging them around a couple of rounds earlier and maybe relieved a wee bit of pressure. But that's the thing about Kings of War. The pressure comes on, you make your decisions, and you see how it plays out on the tabletop. As I said, Mark played really well. He put me under pressure the whole way through, thoroughly deserved the win, and it was a very comprehensive win in the end. And so he went on, that gave him his 4th victory. So he went on to play the final against Gordon, who was in 2nd place at that point of time, and they had a very, very hard fought and close final game, which Gordon just snuck out to be the winner, which gave them 4 wins apiece. But Mark pipped Gordon on the amount of other units that he had killed during the game, during the tournament. So Mark ended up taking out the overall 1st place with Gordon coming 2nd. But they had a really good last game that I watched quite a bit of, and it was a well played final. They both played very, very well. Points wise, it was really close. I don't even think there was 100 points in it, but I think Gordon ended up with 1 objective more than Mark. But anyway, we'll have one more report where I will show my last game when I take on some more goblins. So thanks for watching, everybody. Ka kite anō.